Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video we'll be doing the full in-depth review for this Samsung Galaxy S5. And I have been using this Samsung Galaxy S5 as my primary smartphone now for about 12 days, and I'm going to talk about the general features and how it performs. And at the end of this review I'll also talk about the pros of this Samsung Galaxy S5 and some of the cons that I have with the Galaxy S5. So let's get on with the in-depth review for the Samsung Galaxy S5. So here we have the Samsung Galaxy S5, and the version that I have is the Exynos octa-core version. The Galaxy S5 we get in two varieties. One comes with the Qualcomm based processor and another with the Exynos octa-core, that is Samsung's own 8-core processor. The one we have is the Exynos octa-core processor, and it also has the Mali 628 GPU. Apart from that, other specs are similar. Both the models have 2 GB of RAM, and actually the Samsung Galaxy S5, the screen has been improved a lot. It's a 5.1 inch screen, and before that let me give you a physical overview because there are some changes. We have the IR blaster over here, secondary microphone, and this is the earphone, and I'll talk about the earphone a bit later. The quality is pretty good, and the design has been changed from S5. We have this ridges over here, and it's a personal preference. I don't like this design, but some of you might like it. We also have the power button, and if you notice closely, the power button has been reduced in size significantly, and again we have nothing else. On the bottom we have a flap here because now the Galaxy S5 is water resistant, that is IP67 certified. So we have this flap to cover the USB 3 port, and this port is the micro USB 3 port, but you can use your regular micro USB cable. And actually with the Exynos version, Samsung has supplied the regular micro USB cable. Actually I have done already the unboxing of this S5, so if you want to know what comes inside the box, you can check out that video. Moving further along, we have nothing over here, and we have the volume rocker. Again, as you can see, due to that it is kind of hidden. And moving towards the back, here we see the design change, and if you notice closely, we have this dimpled textured back, and actually in terms of functionality it provides a lot better grip compared to the S4. In my opinion, the S4 was very slippery device, but due to this dimpled back, this one provides actually a lot better grip. And if you notice, we have this new thing. This is a heart rate sensor come flash over here, and we also have the 16 megapixel camera which uses Samsung's own ISO cell. We have the Samsung branding, and here we have the opening for the speaker. We can open the back cover as usual. We have an indent, and you can easily open it up like this. As you can see, we have a huge battery, that's a 2800 milliamp hour battery, and you can add your micro SIM and a micro SD card, and now micro SD cards up to 128 gigs are support. And if you notice the back cover, we have this rubber gasket over here, and this is for the water resistant feature. So when you place it back, you should be a little bit careful that you plug it in properly like this. And we also have the new thing, that is the fingerprint sensor over here, as you can see, and you can just swipe your finger to unlock the device. Moving towards the front, we have a 2 megapixel camera. We also have the array of sensors like light sensor, proximity sensors, etc. And we also have the Samsung branding. Now coming to the earpiece, I tested this device for almost 2 weeks as my primary device, and in India I was using the Airtel as my cellular carrier, and in terms of voice call quality, I must have made hundreds of calls. The voice call quality was very good, so I have no problems regarding the voice call quality on this device. Regarding the speaker, I'm not that happy. The problem is not the volume, but it's the clarity. And we have the 5.1 inch screen. Again, it's a full HD 1080p screen, and again in terms of viewing angles, it's excellent, and the screen is a lot brighter compared to the Galaxy S4. And even outdoors, I would say the screen is actually fairly visible compared to other AMOLED screens, but it's not as bright as some of the IPS grade screens. Moving towards the bottom, we have the standard, this is the home button, and we have now two touch type capacitive buttons, but this is the multitasking tray, as you can see, and this is the back button. This multitasking tray can also act like a menu button. If you just hold it for a second, as you can see, it acts like a menu button. And if you notice closely, the interface has changed a little bit, and this is the new TouchWiz version that we get with the Galaxy S5. And if you move extremely to the left, we have this My Magazine view, and this is kind of a glorified Flipboard, because whenever if you just click on any story, it indirectly opens into Flipboard. I'm not a big fan of this, but some of you might use it, but it's not mandatory and you can actually disable it. Just use this gesture and just go to the home settings and just uncheck this, and now if you scroll, you don't get the My Magazine. Let's look at the settings, and you'll notice that now the icons are rounded in color. If you just hit this, you get access to all the icons, and we do have some new functionality like the toolbox. I'll talk about it a bit later. Let me just go back and let's look at the settings. And by default it will be in this view, that is the grid view. Let me just maximize all the options, and if you just scroll down, we have over 60 options. So actually I find this a little bit difficult to use, because you have so many options, you need to just scroll up and down to figure out what you really want. But fortunately we do have the old modes. You can just go to this list view also like this, or you can go to the tab view, which is kind of similar to what we found on the Galaxy S4. Here we have the quick settings, connections, devices, and controls like this. And this is the general thing. So let's look at the Android version that we get out of the box. And as you can see, we get the Android version 4.4.2. That is KitKat out of the box on the Galaxy S5. So let me go back. And regarding internal storage, Samsung has said that we'll get the Galaxy S5 in two variants, that 16 or 32 GB variant. But in India at the time of shooting this video, only the 16 GB variant was available, and this is the 16 GB variant. And we can add a micro SD card, as I mentioned. And the thing is that not all the apps are movable to the SD card. Only a few apps can be kind of moved, and let me show you the same. And you click this and you can go to the applications and go to the downloaded applications, and from here some of the applications, not all mind you, can be moved to the SD card. For example, the Chrome browser cannot be moved, and you don't get the option of highlighting this move to SD card, but it works for some of the apps. For example, let's see. For example, as you can see, this Subway Surfer was on the SD card. As you can see, 47 meg is on the SD card. So some of the apps can be moved, but not all. I would say hardly about 25% of the apps can be moved to the SD card. For example, let's try to move AnTuTu also, that's not movable. So yes, some of the apps can be moved, but the functionality is kind of pretty limited in my opinion. And I noticed that very heavy apps simply cannot be moved. For example, let's say I have this Asphalt 8, and it is just notice that currently it is using 8.1 GB of internal storage is used. And let's try to move this Asphalt 8. I noticed that the entire app cannot be moved, but only a part of the app can be moved to the SD card. And as you can see, out of that 1.4 gigs, only 55 MB or so was movable. I had better luck with Dead Trigger. For example, Epic Citadel, almost half the size of the app could be moved to the SD card. As you can see, almost 58 megs. So moving of apps to the SD card is kind of a hit or a miss, and I'm saddened to see that though the Samsung Galaxy S5 in India is priced pretty high, it's priced almost at around 51,000. We are just getting the 16 GB variant for that price. Now coming to the headphones, the supplied earphones that Samsung has supplied are actually pretty good in terms of audio quality, and also the quality is pretty decent. It has this flat type cable, and also I also tested it with third-party headphones, and the music quality that you can get from this earphones is actually pretty good. And now to give you an idea about this new TouchWiz interface, as you can see, the animations are a little bit different. And this is the app tray. You don't get this gesture in the app tray now, but you do have options over here. And actually not a lot of all the Samsung's extra apps are installed by default. Only a few of them are installed. You can go to this Galaxy Essentials and download the extra apps if you would like. Also, it has built-in IR blaster, and that also works actually very well. And for example, as you can see, we have the smart remote, and I have configured it for my television, and the satellite provider that I'm using is Tata Sky. When you set it up, it asks us, and right now it is showing us what is going on in Tata Sky. For example, if you go here, we have categories, and if you just hit the movies, it kind of shows you currently the movies that are running. For example, in action, it says we have this one and others. it does not show all the listings, but it does show some of the listings. And if you tap on this and if you just hit this watch on now, and if you're in front of your TV, it'll switch on to that channel. So that functionality is there. But if you want to just go to the traditional remote, you can always hit this option, and this way you can control your television or the satellite receiver, etc. So that functionality actually works very well. Now, as we are connected to my Wi-Fi network, and regarding the Wi-Fi network, it supports both the 2.4 gigahertz as well as the 5 gigahertz band. And in terms of raw Wi-Fi transfer speeds, on the AC band, I could get some very good Wi-Fi transfer speeds. Now, let's fire up the browser. We have two browsers. This one is the stock one that is customized by Samsung, and we also get the stock Google browser also. Pages. This is the Samsung stock browser, and Samsung has customized this one. For example, let me just end this, and we can switch between tabs like this. And as you can see, we have some extra settings over here, but let's look at the Chrome browser. And here, let's go to tech2baz.com, and this is not the stock keyboard. I'm using the Swift keys, but even the stock keyboard is pretty good and it works as expected. And as you can see, it loads the website pretty quickly. Again, it's a very powerful phone, class leading specs again. So in terms of web browsing, I did not have any issues with this device. Let's just try to open one of the stories. We have a YouTube video on this page, and as you can see, the orientation change was also pretty quick. And let's try to play back this video. I'll keep the volume at max.
Hi there, this is Ranjit from tech2baz.com, and in this video we're going to do the unboxing, and I have the first
viewing angles are also very good, as you can see.
And as you can see, in India they are including a 16 GB SD card with the same internal storage on the start.
So regarding the speaker, the volume output is okay, but at max volume like this entire back panel kind of vibrates, so I don't like that. So let me get out. But in terms of web browsing, you'll have no issues with this device. Now coming to one more thing where Samsung has hugely improved this S5 is the rear facing camera. The rear facing camera sports Samsung's own ISO cell, and it's a 16 megapixel sensor. And I have to say, the camera performance on this device is excellent. It takes the photographs very fast. For example, if you just tap in, it focuses. And Samsung says that it has one of the fastest autofocusing. And there are a lot of modes available here, and also this phone, even the Exynos version, can record video in 4K if required. And another thing is that it has this HDR mode, which is kind of live. If you switch it on, it gives you a real-time preview how the pictures will look in HDR. So I think so that's a big improvement. I won't get into detail about the camera because I've already made a 12-minute video regarding the camera, sample shots, etc. So in terms of camera performance, I'm very happy. If you want to check out the sample shots and videos that I've taken with the Galaxy S5, you can check out the camera review that I did. Link for that video will be in the YouTube show notes. But overall, I would say in terms of camera, the performance is very good, but in very low lighting conditions, yes, the camera still shows some weaknesses. But if we compare it with the Galaxy S4, the camera on this Galaxy S5 is definitely much better compared to the camera that we found on the Galaxy S4. And I will say that among Android phones, it has to be one of the best camera phones that I have tested. So if you take a lot of photographs, you won't be disappointed with the camera on this Galaxy S5. Now, if you notice, we also have this sensor over here, and this is the heart rate sensor, and you can access it via the S Health app. You just need to keep your finger here. As you can see, it's firing a LED. It won't get a correct measurement right now because I was moving the phone. And actually, if you are walking around and talking around, it does not take. As you can see, it is showing 122. That's totally wrong. If my BPM was so high, I would have to be in the hospital or something like that. To get the accurate measurement, for example, let me show you this, but it gives you actually more accurate figures. For example, my normal BPM was around between 75 to 85, and to get the correct figure, the issue is that, for example, when you place it over here, you should not move or you should not even talk. Then only it gives you the correct figure. For example, let's try that, and I won't talk this time. and as you can see now, we got a figure of 83. So yes, we have that functionality, but it's up to you how useful that is or not. Instead of this heart rate sensor, I would have felt that if Samsung would have provided us optical image stabilization, that would have been a better option. Now in terms of gaming also, I had some very good experience, and in terms of gaming, I played some casual games to even some high-end games with this Galaxy S5, and it will play all of them without any issues. I've already made a dedicated video regarding the gaming performance of this Galaxy S5, so if you are interested in those features, you can check out that video. Also in terms of sensors, Samsung did not skimp on any sensors, and even while using it on GPS, it works actually pretty well. And it locked to the GPS very quickly. And let me now show you this toolbox option. And as you can see, we get this small icon over here, and if you click here, it shows you some recent apps. You can customize it obviously, and it is easier to jump between apps this way. Obviously we have the multi-window support, etc., but we also have this feature like this. As you can see, you can easily disable this if you don't want it here from the toolbox. Obviously it's a Samsung phone. We also have the multi-window support, and you just press this back key for a while and you get access to this multi-window, and you can have two apps running at the same time without any issues, and this also works pretty well. Also, some of you have asked me if this Galaxy S5 supports USB OTG. Yes, it does support USB OTG, and I had no problems regarding that. So what do I feel about this Samsung Galaxy S5? Let's talk about the pros and cons, and let me start with the pros first. And the first huge improvement I would say is that ISO cell 16 megapixel camera that Samsung has introduced on this Samsung Galaxy S5. It is a fabulous camera, as I mentioned earlier, and the pictures that it can take are very good. And also the biggest thing is that even in HDR mode, the pictures that it can take are very good. Another thing that I like is the waterproofing features. That's the IP67 certification. Though this is a water resistant phone, it's not a very bulky phone. So I think so many people will appreciate that it's a water resistant device. Now coming to the overall performance of this Galaxy S5 was very snappy, and I have to say it has to be one of the most snappy Samsung based Android phones that I have tested. Now coming to TouchWiz, and I would say the TouchWiz on this is the new TouchWiz, and it's a lot less heavy. Another thing that I was happy with the Galaxy S5 is that though it sports a octa-core processor, the model that we are testing has the octa-core processor, I was worried about the heating issues, and I have to say yes, the phone gets a little bit warm when you're using it normally, but it does not get very hot like some other Android phones. For example, the Samsung Galaxy S4, the octa-core version, had heating issues, but I did not face any major heating issues with the Galaxy S5 during my testing. I was also happy with the battery life that I was getting on the S5, and I would say in terms of battery life, it's slightly better than the Galaxy S4, but this Galaxy S5 even has that ultra power saving mode, and if you enable that, you can easily eke out a couple of more hours of battery life. So definitely that ultra power saving mode is beneficial. Now coming to the cons of this device. And the first thing is the design. Many people might not like the design of this phone, and yes, the back is now that dimpled back, and in terms of functionality, I would say it provides a lot better grip compared to the Galaxy S4, but it's a mixed opinion that some people might like the backing or not. Also in terms of design, the Samsung has increased the size of the Galaxy S5 a little bit. Now it sports that 5.1 inch screen, and the phone is a little bit wider, and I would say the Galaxy S4 was pretty comfortable holding in one hand, but this Galaxy S5 is on the borderline uncomfortable. So if you're planning to get this device, I would suggest that go to a local store and handle the device for a few minutes to see if it's comfortable for you or not. Another minor con is the fingerprint scanner. Now the S5 has that fingerprint scanner, but I would say in my testing, the fingerprint scanner works around 50% of the time. I hope that Samsung can improve that functionality. Also, Samsung has introduced this heart rate sensor. It might be beneficial for some people, but Samsung omitted the optical image stabilization. They should have included, because the camera on this is very good in normal lighting, but in very low lighting conditions, the camera is a little bit weak. And if Samsung would have included the optical image stabilization, it would have been great. But sadly, there is no optical image stabilization on the Galaxy S5. Another con that I have with the Galaxy S5 is the speaker. Though it just has a single speaker and it's adequately loud, but I've noticed that when you keep the speaker at max level, the back actually, the complete back kind of vibrates. So I don't get it, and it gives you that cheap feeling. So I'm not very impressed with the speaker quality that is provided on the S5, and it actually at max volume, though it's adequately loud, the entire back panel vibrates. So these are some of the cons of this Galaxy S5. Now coming to the price, yes, I feel that the pricing of this Galaxy S5, especially in India, is pretty high, around the 50,000 mark. That's almost US $850. So at the end of the day, it comes to you. In terms of overall performance, I would say the performance of this Galaxy S5 was very good. In around 2 weeks of my testing, I hardly faced any issues of lagginess or sluggishness on the phone. And now ultimately it comes down to you, considering the price point of this Galaxy S5. Is it for you or not? It's ultimately for you to decide. I hope that you found this video review helpful. If you found it helpful, I'll appreciate if you can click the like button and also share this video with your friends. And if you aren't subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit the subscribe link. Thank you for watching this video. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video.